Hi everybody, welcome to this video. The problem that I am trying to resolve here is to reduce the overall script development time using Selenium and Python with the help of PyTest. First, let me tell you the problem statement. If you look at this code, what it is doing, it is opening the browser, it is navigating to the stackoverflow.com. Then it is navigating to the login page, putting the email and the password, then clicking on the login button, and after that it sleeps for 3 seconds and then it is searching for a word that is Python in Stack Overflow search bar. If I run this particular piece of code, let me run it. So I am using the inbuilt functionality of JetBrains and PyTest plugin, so I can run this code from this play button. Let me run it and let's see what happens. So the browser is open, it is navigating to the Stack Overflow, it is inputting the username and password, then it is searching for Python. That is it. A very simple, straightforward code. As you can see, there is no issue here. It was very easy. The navigation was easy, the execution was easy. So where is the problem? The problem is in the script development. How? Where is the problem? I will tell you in a bit. If you look at this code very minutely, you can see that the main task that I am trying to do here is this one. I am searching for a word that is Python in the browser after logging in. So you can say that the preliminary stuff, the preliminary step to reach to this function are these, right? Every time I want to run this particular piece of code, I essentially need to run all of this. Now this is a problem. Why? Because right now if I want to update this function, suppose I don't want it to be Python, I want it to be Java. Now what happens? Now this is a very simple scenario. It may be more complex than that. But assume for this time, just assume that I just want this search to be Java and not Python. Then how am I going to ensure that this particular code is working, or the changes that I have made in this code that is working? I need to test it. I need to test my code. Now in order to test it, how would I test it? I need to run this entire script again. So it is going to open up the browser again, it is going to log in, it is going to get to this page, and then it is going to search for Java. There lies the problem. So the bigger the preliminary steps will be, the more time it will take to debug this particular code. So if there are multiple preliminary steps, and that happens when you are actually working on a project, so there are multiple preliminary steps in order to get to a particular point from where you are developing on top of that. So in order to get there, I need to run all of these, and that actually creates problem. That create actually two problems. The first one, that is time. I need to have a lot of time just to execute these preliminary steps, go to this state of the application, and then do my stuff, then do my development. That is number one. And number two is, if anything in this preliminary steps is broken, then essentially I would not be able to run it, because then I'll be busy debugging this code, right? And that will reduce my effort, that will reduce my, and that is going to add to my uh, overall development time, right? So how can I resolve this? How can I resolve How can I implement a particular functionality like this, that I can run only this function on top of this page? That is what I am trying to achieve here. Let me show you how did I do it. So let me close all of these browsers. Let me go to the code. Now my approach would be to have a browser ready with that particular application state. How am I going to do it? Let me show you. So as you can see in the left side project structure, there is this file create browser.sh. I will tell you what it does. So I'm just running this. Let me run it. As you can see, when I ran this create browser.sh, it is going to give me one browser, one blank browser, right? Now if I go to the code and change this config.ini, this debug part, if I make it true, then what it is going to do, my selenium code is going to reuse this browser session. What do I mean by reuse? Let me show you. So right now let me add a just a minute, let me add a simple sleeve here in order to get the switching done from this code to the browser. Now if I run it, I have run it and I am going to the browser. Now if I run it, as you can see, it is going to link to this browser session, and it is starting the execution from on this browser, on top of this browser. It is not creating a new browser. Now this is my existing browser, and this session is linked to my framework. Right now I can reuse this existing browser session as the way I want. So for example, I don't want it to be Java. Let me delete it. Let me go to the PyTest and let me change this one. Let me make it Python again. Now if I run it, let me put a sleeve here so that you can see it in action. Now if I run it, see, it is not going to launch a new browser. It is not going to do all those preliminary stuffs. It is directly starting its execution from this point. So it is going to this search bar, it is typing the Python, and then it is clicking on or pressing the enter. So it is searching this for this Python. In this way, what I have done is I have waived the necessity of running these preliminary steps, and I can directly run this function. So that is going to reduce a lot of development time, don't you think? Let me show you another thing. Suppose I am working on a new functionality test. Say for example test ask button click or something like that. You get the point. Now what I am going to do, I am going to this ask question button, I am going to click on it. So let me click on it. So it is coming to this page. Let me go back. This is the state from where I want to start my execution. What I am going to do, I am going to write the code. Let me inspect it. Okay, this is a anchor tag with the text ask question. Let me close it. Now Let me write the code. Self dot driver dot find element by xpath. Then what would be the xpath? A. So this is my xpath. So I am going to click on that ask question button. As I already have this existing browser session and it is already to the state where I want it to be, I can directly go to this code and I can run it. Let me put a sleeve here so that you can see it in action. So let me click on this, go to this one, and see it is clicking on that button. I don't have to worry about all the preliminary steps. I can reuse the existing browser session and develop on top of that. As many time I want to run it, I don't have to do all of these preliminary steps. I can directly run my code selectively. So I think this is going to give you a lot of time for development because you are not focusing on the preliminary steps. You are only focusing on the code that you are going to execute. Now this is how it is going to reduce your development time. Now let me walk you through the code that I have written. So in order to make this code run, I have used Linux, but you can use Windows also. Currently there is no batch file, but I am going to create one. So you will have a create browser.batch also. How this code works is, first you need to use this create browser.batch or .sh, whatever it is. You need to create an existing browser session. So if you run this create browser.sh, it is going to give you one reusable browser that will be blank. Now what you need to do, you need to go to this config.ini and you need to set this particular key as true. If you make it false, then what happens? Let me show you. If you make it false, then it is going to create a new browser. It is going to start all the execution. So as if you are getting two things. First, one in debug mode on and another is debug mode off. If you make the debug mode true, then it is going to give you it is going to run your code on the reusable browser session. If you have made the debug mode as false, it is going to start a new browser and it is going to execute as you would execute on a execution environment. Say for example you are using Docker or something. So in that way, or grid, in that way, when the debug mode is false, it is going to run as in production, and when the debug is true, it is going to give you the reusable browser session. So that is the power of this small framework. So as you can see, it is creating a new browser and it is going to the Stack Overflow and it is doing all of that stuff. This is like the normal flow, and when the debug mode is true, it is going to run on your existing browser session, that is the previous one, this one. So this is how I think it will be helpful for in your project where you are developing your script and you just need to run only a particular piece of code. And I think this is going to help in debugging also, because right now suppose there is an error in this part, maybe the locator has changed or something, so your script is failing and you know that it is in this particular part. But how you are going to debug it without running all this code? You will be just creating a existing browser session. You will be creating a browser session. you would manually go there. You don't need to run all the preliminary steps here. You can directly go to manually in this part. Maybe you would even log out because that is related to login, and then click on the login button again. You are doing all of these things manually. You don't need to run it automatically. Now you are focusing only on this part. Maybe your password has changed. Maybe it's now password 1 or something, or the element has changed, but that doesn't concern you. You can directly click on this button and it is going to run your code. So that's it. You can use the reusing browser session in order to reduce your script development time. Thank you for watching. Also, please let me know what did you think about this code and how it may help you in the project. Please mention what your thoughts are in the comment section, or you can directly email me to bandcoder@gmail.com.